Oh shit, here we go. We have Brian here. Let's staccato, man. You see? I can't help it. I'm hungry. I'm just a wee baby. See, it's bad because I'm wanting to do Gilmon and then I get stuck in Stitch. Let's wee baby voices. All the amazing work this man has done. Hi.
Hey, hey.
You want to be in the camera too? Nah, she's shy. Yes, the demon. You know, I don't know what they were thinking with that anime, but it is a crazy anime.
It's crazy. Well, fortunately, I'm not in the anime. I'm only in the games.
You're only in the games.
But the games are just as destructive.
Right, yeah, but I've seen the anime. I haven't played the game.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say on my Twitch channel?
Come see me.
Let's staccato, man.
We can modify.
You have a great weekend. Hopefully we get to see you at Minicon in the future.
Yes, I emailed last night.
Okay, any response? Or?
No, I sent it late, and I sent it to Adele. I don't know if I spelled it right, the name, but I sent it to Adele. So,
I appreciate it.
So let Adele know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
I'll let
bye.
Rachel know, because Rachel will probably be able to get a hold of Adele first.
Got it.
Yeah. You have a good weekend. I'll be back around.
Nice meeting you guys.
You too. Here we are, and that was Brian. We got panels.
I should get something for it. Maybe I should get the baby corn for it.
We're just walking around.
That'd be funny.
Ha ha ha. Sorry. I'm just Where we going? Yeah, I remember we can just go place for the camera. I'm on live on Twitch right now. Such a cuddle. It's Gilman hosting the channel today. This guy is known as Nickman. Hello, Nickman. Nicky Man? I like Nicky Man. Nicky Man! Nicky Man, you like bread? Let's go loaf around. Whee! Let's take a look at the floor plan. Oh boy, oh boy. Da 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 da. We are at Is it Sangawa? Akuna Matata? Sangawa project. Got it. We got the rhythm.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
No, sorry.
These are looking for the panels. Sound like a secret after-party meetup. Are we about to get rid? I hope not. Oh, maybe it's in here. No. Yeah, there's not a lot going on right now. Ooh. Just showing around, starting up the con for the Sunday edition. Right.
I guess it got canceled then. Or one of the other ones got canceled, so they moved it to one of the main rooms.
We could just ask, you know. It's the blessing of having staff. Are we going down here? Oh, you get water. Nothing. I'm just looking. I literally opened the door. Guy looked at me, and I was like, up, close the door quietly. Look at Gojira. Legally, we can't call it Gojira. Run, but we still should run away like it is Gojira. Da, 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 da. Don't mind me. Easy wax on, wax off.
Yes!
Oh, wow.
I didn't even
It's
know. I
like
thought it just
wax
ended.
on, wax off. That's what it looks like. There is not a lot going on right now. I don't know what's down here. We haven't looked the other day. I'm also on a live too, so I figured just another one, but that one's ended. What else?
Like, I know the Xbox Fantasy and RPG thing is going on. And Xbox Japan.
Well, we can go there if you'd like. I don't know where everything's at. I keep forgetting.
I have a horrible sense of direction. Sometimes left is up for me. Sometimes right is down. You don't want to know what's behind me. Neither do I.
No, I was just being silly. Well, like I said, I mean, there are other floors we can go to. Oh, you want to go back into it? Yeah. It's fine.
The official title is Burning Desires. I really liked what you did.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So it was the one thing I got right. Didn't want to kept myself short of the trip, all like the history behind it, but I was like, okay, you presented the fact that I was following it everything.
Okay, good.
I'd like it to because, of course, well, sometimes there'll be a fish in the year.
Let's see.
Horse girls and horse girls and horse girls.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably try this little Checo. I don't know if I'm gonna add anything or just drag and turn, but I think I'm gonna try to do it second.
Is it going to start?
And I was just like, so that's the one thing that there's a lot of my friends like into the mobile game now.
Yeah.
And I was seeing a lot more of
Yeah,
it.
that's
Now,
got it.
I mean, if it sounds beautiful, it's Halo.
I'm one of the few rare people.
Is it funny that I am a Sony fan, but I am a Halo fan? But I've never owned an Xbox in my life. It's either been roommates or people, you know. That's my Halo experience.
Halo's never really continued. So, I think
Well, rumor has it Halo may be going to PlayStation.
they already bought it.
Huh?
But they already have it.
They have it modded. They don't have it on PlayStation. So it's been on Steam and Xbox, but it's not on PlayStation at all.
No. So Halo got sold, or was up for sale, and someone bought it. Someone
Oh.
owns Halo now.
Right. Yeah, you're
But
right.
Because of the contract that they had, Microsoft still has the rights to do it. Until that's up, then Sony can put it on theirs.
Right. It's the same thing when Netflix was doing those Marvel shows when the MCU was taking off, and you know, for Marvel to utilize those characters and those story elements, they had to wait. And instead of just replacing them, they took elements that were already established from those Netflix shows and continued their stories into the MCU. So they started out unofficially and then became officially.
All right, everyone, it's 11:30. We're going to get started. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to Xbox Japan and the Forgotten JRPGs. So I decided I wanted to host this panel because I find the whole story of Xbox in general fascinating, but the whole story about them trying to get into and find success in Japan I find very satisfying in and of itself, especially considering the aforementioned Forgotten JRPGs that came from that push. So in order to discuss their attempts to push into Japan, we first have to talk about why Microsoft decided to make the Xbox in general. So you basically had two sides of Microsoft. You had the corporate side and the creative side. And both those sides needed to agree to make this thing happen. On the corporate side, they approved the creation of the Xbox basically out of fear. They saw the success of the PlayStation 1 and the ridiculous hype for the PS2, and they were terrified that Sony was about to take over people's living rooms. And add that to Sony marketing the PlayStation 2 as being as powerful, if not more powerful, than a lot of PCs. To quote the Xbox documentary, that was like firing cannonballs over Microsoft headquarters. So they basically did the Xbox because they did not want Sony to have another piece of hardware.
You misspelled your name wrong.
On the
Nick with a K.
creative side, though, the
Oh,
creators
wait.
within Microsoft, they saw a lot of potential in making a game console that was more similar
Oh,
to a
thought there was
PC.
no K in your name.
Modern game consoles nowadays are basically just PCs.
I was going by your
with
Facebook.
very slight variations. But back in the 90s,
I'll have to look at it
that
again.
was very far. Consoles and PCs were incredibly different to the point you really didn't see much in the way of PC games on consoles or vice versa. You really only saw that with the really huge successful games, stuff like Doom, Wolfenstein, or Apocalypse. So porting from PC to console was difficult. So the creatives at Microsoft saw an opportunity like, hey, if we make a console that's basically just a PC developers can get into the console business without having to basically remake their games. Or they can just go straight into the console business without having to learn how to program for consoles. Because remember, in the 90s, your big console makers were Sony, Nintendo, and Sega, all Japanese companies. So dev kits were hard to get for Western companies, instructions were in Japanese. So even if they knew how to do it, it was still a pain. So they saw making a console that would basically a PC as a great way for developers to break into a new market. Although, while they created the Xbox mostly to appeal to Western developers, Microsoft also knew that back then Japan was the center of the games industry, both in terms of developers, publishers, and of course players. So finding success in Japan was a huge priority for Microsoft, both from a business sense and a personal sense for the creators, as of course they were all big gamers, so they So one of those big hurdles was just Microsoft as a company. People didn't really take them seriously. They didn't think they knew what they were doing when it came to games. Now, when it came to Western developers, Microsoft had a little bit of credit as they had published a lot of games on PC. They had that to fall back on if Western developers felt a little unsure about it. But that wasn't the case in Japan. In the 90s, PC gaming was basically non-existent in Japan. It was the nichiest of niche things in Japan. It just didn't, it barely existed. So them saying, oh, hey, we published a bunch of stuff on PC, that didn't mean anything to Japanese developers. And something funny note there, Microsoft also attempted to buy Nintendo at this time, and according to one executive, they were basically laughed out of the room when they proposed that idea. They were also told that the original Xbox wasn't very marketable in Japan because it was black, which didn't make any sense to Microsoft, because if you remember the PlayStation 2, it was 99.9% black, but they were told that was a problem. And of course, the original controller, now lovingly known as the Duke. How many people here have held and or seen the Duke? Alright, yeah, so anyone who hasn't seen one, if you're ever at like a convention or a game store, if you can find a Duke somewhere, just check it out, because I can't do it justice just to how huge the Duke was. Even by modern handheld PC standards, the Duke was massive.
It's half the size of this place.
Basically, yes. In the future, I'm planning to have a Duke controller to pass around for people. But yeah, that was a huge problem, to the point that when the Xbox launched in Japan, they had a new controller made for it because the Duke was so big. But despite all these hurdles, though, they did, of course, release in Japan. So let's see how they did with the original Xbox. In Japan, they launched February 22nd, sold about 24 million units worldwide. Not, great, especially compared to the PlayStation 2, but it was good enough to beat the GameCube. And in Japan, roughly 473,000 units sold. All these numbers are, I rounded, but right around there. So, yeah, those numbers, would probably send Sony or Nintendo straight out of business. But for Microsoft, it was a decent start. So, how did they manage to even get that? Well, of course, they went after games, and especially they went after big name developers. And the first big name developer they went to was one Shinji Mikami, creator of Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, and later the now Microsoft EP, Evil Within. So at the time, Shinji Mikami wasn't very happy working with Sony, and he was looking for partners to publish Resident Evil elsewhere. So Microsoft set up a meeting with him, and the meeting did not go well. Ultimately, Shinji Mikami left that meeting and ended up signing a deal with Nintendo to make multiple exclusive games there, including the very famously GameCube exclusive Resident Evil 4. GameCube exclusive Resident Evil 4. So a lot of stories have come out that this meeting, that Microsoft translators pissed him off, or just they didn't give good answers. But he later said that his main reason for picking Nintendo at this time was that due to Sony and Microsoft having so many other business ventures, he wasn't sure if they would be in the games industry in the future, but he trusted Nintendo would. Funny enough, they still are. So, unfortunately, it did not work out. We never got Resident Evil on Xbox, and Shinji Mikami, while he did assist on some games, such as Steel Battalion there, his presence was very minimal. But they did manage to land one big name, the unfortunately now late Tomonobu Itagaki, the creator of the Dead or Alive series and later the Ninja Gaiden reboot. So Itagaki was a pretty big get. At the time, Dead or Alive was right up there with games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat as very prominent fighting game franchises. And sidetrack. So they managed to land him because at the time, Tomonobu Itagaki, he was one of the very few Japanese developers that was actively promoting his games in the West. He was one of the only ones who was in sign on. So Dead or Alive 3 was one of the biggest Xbox exclusives. To this day, it is still the best-selling Xbox game in Japan. He also ported the Dead or Alive 1 or 2 over to the Xbox, created the aforementioned Ninja Gaiden reboot, which was phenomenal, and the enhanced edition, Ninja Gaiden Black. And of course, he also helped create the best, most in-depth sports game ever made with Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. So that's half a joke, but funny with XBV, that at the time was possibly the best looking video game ever made. I'm not just talking about the boobs. It was a fantastic looking game and still holds up to this day. So with Itagaki, Dead or Alive 3, XBV, and Ninja Gaiden, these were graphical showcases for the Xbox and the industry in general. So he was a big get, and that did help Xbox get more people on board. Sega was a big supporter of the Xbox. At the time, they were basically winding down the Dreamcast and going to where they are now, becoming a third-party publisher. And even Xbox, former Xbox head, who was the Sega head, Peter Moore, even said that he felt Xbox was crucial to Sega surviving their transition into being a third-party publisher. Tecmo signed on. Itagaki worked for Tecmo at the time, so he helped bring in more Tecmo games. And they had limited support from other companies like Koei, FromSoft, Atlas, Konami, and Capcom. Unfortunately, they weren't able to land the really big names like Square or Enix, but for their first go, they had some good support, and that led to some pretty awesome games. The Xbox nowadays is still known for some pretty hidden gems. You had sequels like Jet Set Radio Future, Panzer Dragoon, Phantasy Star, and even new IP stuff like Gun Valkyrie, Crimson Sea, and the still Japanese exclusive, actually wait, that was not a new IP, but also Shin Megami Tensei 9, which is still an Xbox exclusive. So yeah, what's that? Oh yes, Metal Wolf Chaos, of course, one of FromSoft's craziest games. Let's party. So yeah, the Xbox didn't set Japan on fire, but it got their foot in the door and got them at least a little bit of credibility. And they intended to go all in on that credibility with their next go-around, the Xbox 360. So released in December 2005, Microsoft's most successful console to date, about 85 million units sold worldwide, and their most successful in Japan, about 1.6 million consoles sold. And there's a lot of reasons why the 360 sold well in Japan. Obviously, overall, it sold well worldwide. But Microsoft went all in on appealing to the Japanese market, all the way down to the original hardware and the advertising. So obviously, like I said, the original Xbox, they were told it's not marketable because it's black. So they made it white. They were told it was too big, so they slimmed it down. So even down to the hardware, Japan was their main focus for the Xbox 360. And of course, people at Microsoft, they knew that games were the big ticket to finding success, and they needed a big fish to make games for them. And it just so happens they were about to land a very big fish, a fish by the name of Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of this series called Final Fantasy. There's like 1 or 2 games in that series, so you might have heard of it. So yeah, this was about as big a get as they could have gotten. He created Final Fantasy, and he directed and wrote the first 5 games, wrote 6 and 7, and had a hand in all games up till Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2. Also worked on series like Chrono Trigger, Parasite Eve, and Front Mission. So if he's such a big name, how did Microsoft manage to land him? Well, there were a lot of events that led to him landing in Microsoft's lap. Funny enough, though, it doesn't start with a game, it starts with a movie. A movie called Final Fantasy The Spirits Within. How many people here have seen Final Fantasy The Spirits Within? I cannot believe how many people, when I did this at the Gaming Expo too, how many people have seen this movie. So, yeah, Final Fantasy Spirits Within was one of the first big video game franchises to get a movie. It was a full CGI movie and had a budget of $137 million. Yeah, which, very normal nowadays, but for the early 2000s, insane, especially for where that money went, because the movie even today still looks fantastic. You know, you can definitely see stuff here and there, but I remember I actually saw this movie in theaters when I was a kid, and I don't really remember much of the movie from when I saw it, but I do remember on at least 2 occasions sitting there as a kid and being like, oh yeah, those aren't actual people. It's animated. So it looked that good. However, if you just saw this movie, you would never guess it was a Final Fantasy movie. It has much more in common with James Cameron's Alien than it does anything Final Fantasy related. And that had a profound result on the results of the movie. So yeah, that $137 million budget, and that was just the movie's budget, not even including marketing costs. A huge flop. Square had a whole movie studio set up, and that movie studio did not last long after this game. In fact, it also delayed the merger between Square and Enix. At the time, they were in their negotiations for their merger that would eventually happen, but I mean, as you would imagine, if you're an Enix executive, you're about to merge with this company, hey guys, what's with this $52 million loss on your books that we're about to merge with you over? So it did delay that merger. It ended up happening, but it could have happened sooner if not for this movie. And it also had an effect on Sakaguchi. He was very distraught by the failure of the movie, and it kind of put him in a rougher spot in Square. He found himself doing more managerial tasks, less creative tasks, and he ultimately decided to move on from Square to start his own studio so he could get back to making games. That studio would be known as Mistwalker. So, in just the perfect series of events, Sakaguchi started his studio, Microsoft came and said, hey, you want to make some JRPGs? We want JRPGs on our Xbox? So they made a deal for Mistwalker to make 3 exclusive games for the Xbox 360. And the first game that would come from this deal was Blue Dragon. So Blue Dragon was created by Mistwalker along with the studio Artoon. Mistwalker's setup, they were kind of like, they were the main studio, but they would, another studio would do a good bit of the work for them. So Artoon worked on this with Mistwalker. So this was their first big game coming from Mistwalker. And Sakaguchi was involved, but he was not the only big name. He, of course, wrote Blue Dragon. He also brought in his former Final Fantasy companion, Lloyd Matsu, as composer for the game. So he had the writing, he had the sound, and then they needed an art style. And it turns out Sakaguchi knew some small-time artist in Japan, some guy by the name of Akira Toriyama. You know, he heard of him somewhere, so he decided to give this young up-and-comer a shot at this game. So yeah, there was really an all-star cast working on this game, and people in Japan took notice. There was a limited edition console bundle that came with a Blue Dragon faceplate and figures of the main cast, and it sold out almost immediately, weeks before the game's release. So people in Japan took notice of Blue Dragon. And Blue Dragon was a fun game. It was a pretty traditional JRPG for the time. Your basic story, you know, kids, town under attack, kids go, fight bad guy, save town, save world, slight little romance in there, you know, nothing you haven't seen in any other anime. So, a story that wasn't going to blow anyone away, but a fun game for people who enjoy traditional JRPGs. And just like Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, an art style that still holds up, as a lot of Akira Toriyama's work does. It still looks great and runs great today. So, yeah, we had a lot of hype. It was a good game. Too. So in Japan, Blue Dragon sold around 200,000 units, which was actually right around where Microsoft wanted it to be, and a total of about 460,000 worldwide. And I managed to even find these Xbox sales numbers via Silicon Era. The week before release, there were about 4,000 Xbox 360 sold in Japan. The week after, by Microsoft. They, well, I guess at the time, nowadays they're okay with their IPs being put on other platforms. But at the time, they were fine with their IPs being put on handheld since they were competing in that market. So Blue Dragon got 2 DS sequels as well as an anime. If you're interested in watching the anime, it is available to watch on YouTube. Again, it's nothing special, but it's a fun little show. So yeah, they started off very strong with this deal with Mistwalker. Blue Dragon really gave Xbox a lot of credibility in Japan, and even Japanese fans of Japanese games worldwide got a pretty awesome game. So they wanted to continue that momentum with their next game, Lost Odyssey. So no, I didn't mix them. So Lost Odyssey released in 2007 in Japan, and was another collaboration with Mistwalker and the studio Field Plus. It was meant to be a more mature game. A lot of people have compared Blue Dragon to being Mistwalker's Dragon Quest, where this was Mistwalker's Final Fantasy. Not the most accurate interpretation, but it's true enough for what it is, as this was the more mature game. So Sakaguchi returned to write, and he brought Uematsu back for composing, but obviously Akira Toriyama did not come back. But that did not mean they had less star power on this. They also brought in Kiyoshi Shigematsu to write special sections in the game. If you're not familiar, Kiyoshi Shigematsu is a very prominent novelist in Japan, one of the best-selling novelists in Japan. And he wrote sections in it called, they were basically flashbacks, told through text. And they also brought in Takehiko Inoue for character design, who created the series of Vagabond, one of the best-selling manga series in Japanese history. So we had, again, yet another all-star cast working on this game. And talking about character design on a personal note, I am a big fan of the Lost Odyssey, the character designs, art style in general, but I don't know, there's something about these character designs I love. Oh, yes. And I know when I posted about this online, got comments about the Guy Fieri pants. So yeah, just a personal note there, my love for the Lost Odyssey designs. So we have screenshots there, and Lost Odyssey, like Blue Dragon, was a very traditional JRPG. This one was actually even more traditional. You had things like random encounters that weren't in Blue Dragon. The turn-based combat, while they had some extra elements in there, you had some quick time events for attacks. Nothing on the scale of like what we saw in Expedition 33, but there was a little bit in there to spice up the turn-based combat, but it was still pretty basic for the time. Some would even call the system antiquated. But if you're a fan, it's a lot of fun. So Lost Odyssey sold around 110,000 copies in Japan. Yeah, not bad, but it was considered a slight disappointment considering Blue Dragon's success. Especially because the sales in Japan started off very strong. About 90,000 of those copies were sold in the first month. So it sold a lot better worldwide, somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 copies. I couldn't find any concrete numbers. So while it was good in Japan by Xbox standards, again, it was considered a disappointment considering the success Blue Dragon had. But they moved on to the next game. No, they tried to move on to the next game, which was going to be titled Cry On, which unfortunately, as you can see, ended up getting canceled. This would have been an action RPG as opposed to a more traditional JRPG like Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. It was to be co-developed by Kavia, who worked on the Drakengard / Nier games. And the Drakengard artist Kimiko Fujisaka was set in character designs, and he was later replaced. Sadly, Crime was canceled in 2008 due to a lot of development issues. There were declining game sales in Japan, and of course that very pesky, worldwide financial crisis that happened in 2008. So, again, going personal note, I knew about Cry On before I started researching this panel, and as I learned more about it, I am just so disappointed this game got canceled. It sounds right up my alley. We did get some concept art for it, and we had some information. It was to feature this particular protagonist, was to be named Sally, and there would have been a race small little stone creatures called, I'm going to say opals. That's the way I'm going to pronounce it. And there would have been one that traveled with Sally on her adventures. The story was set to be very emotional, with tears of both joy and sadness to be the major theme. That's the title, Cry On. And Nobuo Uematsu has said he was going to have a OST that would have matched it, be very emotional and melancholic. But yeah, we did not get that, but at least in 2014, we got the last bit of media on Cryon when Sakaguchi uploaded a cinematic trailer to his YouTube channel. It is still up there on his channel. IGN still has the trailer up there as well if you want to check it out. Again, it is, if you're like me, you'll be so disappointed this game was canceled. Because it did look like it had a lot of promise, and apparently media at the time saw its cancellation as pretty disappointing considering how good a quality Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey were. So they were not scheduled, they were contracted for 3 games. We got 2. We got Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. 2 awesome games in my mind. Unfortunately, neither game is available on PC or other platforms. They are both backwards compatible, so if you have access to an Xbox One, any of the modern consoles, you can play them, and they go on sale all the time for like $5. So if you have, that old Xbox laying around, dig it out. And if you decide to shop physical, keep an eye out because Blue Dragon is on 3 discs and Lost Odyssey is on 4. So if you shop the used market, make sure they're all there. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to have any type of ports anytime soon. Sakaguchi has said he has no desire to port or remaster the games because he wants to focus on making newer games. And he's also said he has no plans to revisit or revive Cryon. So, unfortunately, they're both locked to Xbox hardware, but they are at least available on modern platforms, and they run even better now than they did on the Xbox 360. So that was the story of Mistwalker, and that's what they brought to the Xbox 360. And because they
I'll be right back.
this big